The information provided on this podcast is intended for general informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we discuss topics related to vegan health, diet, and fitness, always consult with a qualified healthcare provider or a registered dietitian before making any changes to your diet, fitness routine, or lifestyle, especially if you have existing health conditions.
Welcome to Good Vegan Meal, the podcast for lifelong vegans, people wanting to become vegan, or those interested in vegan living. We're here to make your lives better by giving you the information you need to succeed in your compassionate vegan lifestyle.
Today, we're diving into a topic that's, well, seemingly everywhere you look right. From your local fast food joint to grocery store aisles, veganism.
Yeah.
It's clearly pretty mainstream now, but despite that visibility, it still sparks a lot of confusion and, honestly, a surprising number of myths. We've gathered your stack of sources, everything from expert nutritionists to longtime vegan advocates, to really unpack what's fact and what's fiction here.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to cut through all that misinformation. You see a lot of stuff out there, poorly researched content, claiming to debunk veganism, but we're here to give you clear, evidence-backed insights. We want to help you understand veganism beyond just the headlines and really separate the reality from the common assumptions.
Okay, so let's unpack this first common misconception then. The idea that veganism and vegetarianism are the same. I bet you've heard it, maybe even said it yourself. Someone mentions they're vegan and immediately gets asked, oh, you mean vegetarian? What's the fundamental difference here?
It's a really crucial distinction, and honestly, a lot of the confusion probably stems from this exact point. See, vegetarianism is primarily a dietary choice. You avoid meat, basically. But veganism is far broader than just what's on your plate. It's more of a philosophy and a way of living. It seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation and cruelty to animals. So that means not just for food, but also things like clothing, entertainment, or really any other purpose. So while a vegan diet is definitely part of it, the actual practice goes much further.
Right. That distinction really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And kind of following on from that, another common idea is that veganism is just a fad, something trendy that will eventually fade. Why do you think that myth persists? What's the deeper reality?
Well, that's a common misunderstanding. While the Vegan Society itself was officially formed back in 1944, evidence of people avoiding animal products for ethical reasons actually dates back over 2,000 years. We even have records from as early as 1806 of public objections to consuming eggs and dairy, so this is hardly new.
Wow, 1806.
Yeah. So the core insight here is that veganism, as a social justice movement, is actually gaining ground globally against speciesism. That's the belief that one species is superior to another, and human supremacy. It's genuinely helping people make informed decisions, and it's actively changing how we perceive non-human animals. That's a fundamental shift, not just some passing trend.
That's a really powerful point, thinking of it as a social justice movement. And speaking of definitions, we often hear plant-based and vegan used like they mean the same thing. Is that right? Or is there a nuance we should be aware of?
They do often overlap, yeah, but there's an important nuance there. Vegan, like we said, refers to that comprehensive philosophy and lifestyle, excluding all animal exploitation. Plant-based, on the other hand, generally refers more specifically to food, products that are solely or largely derived from plants. The key difference is really intent and scope. A plant-based diet might not necessarily exclude tiny amounts of animal products, think flexitarianism maybe, or it doesn't guarantee that no animal products were used in its processing. Like a plant-based burger might still contain egg as a binder or something.
Ah, right.
So for you, the listener, if you're aiming for full veganism, you still need to check those labels carefully, even on things marked plant-based.
That's incredibly helpful for navigating the supermarket. Now, with those definitions clearer, let's pivot to what often dominates the conversation, health and nutrition. And we have to start with the big one, the concern I hear most often. Vegans can't get enough protein or calcium or other vital vitamins and minerals. Let's tackle protein first. Why does this myth have such a strong grip, and what's the actual truth?
You're right. That's undoubtedly the biggest misconception about veganism, and it's been clarified so many times. The core insight here is that the human body doesn't really differentiate protein by where it came from. It just breaks it down into amino acids to use. The myth's persistence probably speaks more to, ingrained cultural ideas about meat than actual biological need. While it might require a bit more thought sometimes, it's absolutely possible to get enough protein. I mean, think about it. Lentils, beans, peas, nuts, mushrooms, tofu, broccoli, quinoa, amaranth, nutritional yeast, spirulina, soy milk, green peas. Even asparagus has protein. These are all great sources.
That's quite a list.
It is. And the daily recommended amount for most adults is around 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is easily doable with a varied plant-based diet. And if you need more proof, just look at all the successful plant-based athletes out there. The Game Changers documentary really brought that to light. Plus, interestingly, most animal protein actually originates from the plants the animals eat in the first place.
So protein's covered if you plan a bit. But what about calcium? That idea that you need dairy for strong bones is so deeply ingrained.
Yeah, it really is. But it's another common misunderstanding. Calcium is readily available in lots of plant-based foods. And some, like kale, the calcium is actually absorbed better by the body than the calcium from dairy milk.
Really? Better.
Yeah, so you can get plenty from dark leafy greens like kale, cabbage, broccoli, also things like tahini, dried figs, almonds, soybeans, chickpeas, seaweed, and of course, fortified plant milks are everywhere now. Almond, oat, coconut milk, even some fortified breads can contribute.
Okay, so it sounds like most core nutrients are pretty available from plants. Are there any particular exceptions or things vegans need to be especially mindful of nutritionally?
Yeah, a well-balanced vegan diet provides most things. For iron, it's easy to find lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans, tofu, cashews, kale, quinoa, pumpkin seeds, dried apricots, figs, raisins. It's also worth noting that iron deficiency is a global issue. It affects people regardless of their diet.
That's a good point.
And for essential omega-3 and omega-6 fats, which are vital for brain health, you can find them in various seeds: pumpkin, sunflower, flax, chia, also walnuts, seaweed, soya spreads. It's fascinating. Algae is actually the original source of these omegas for fish, too.
I didn't know that.
But okay, there are a couple of key exceptions we need to talk about. Vitamin B12 and iodine.
Right.
B12 is produced by microorganisms, not by plants themselves.
Mm.
In modern farming, animals usually get it either from grazing or, more often now, through supplementation in their feed. So vegans really need a reliable source. That usually means supplements or fortified foods, things like nutritional yeast, some vegan spreads, breakfast cereals, those fortified plant milks again.
Okay, supplements or fortified foods for B12. What about iodine?
Similar story. Iodine is found in seaweed, though you need to be a bit careful not to get too much from some types or, again, from supplements. It's interesting. Organizations like the Vegan Society even developed a specific supplement called VGG1. It's a chewable multivitamin, costs about £2 a month, designed for vegans, and they even have versions for babies and toddlers.
Wow.
It just shows, that these specific needs are known and manageable.
That's incredibly helpful, a really clear roadmap for those nutrients. Moving on, there's this automatic assumption sometimes that a plant-based diet is always healthy. But just because something is vegan, does that automatically mean it's good for you?
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah.
That's not quite right. While home-prepared vegan meals with fresh, whole ingredients often are healthier.
Mm-hmm.
More vegetables, less saturated fat. A lot of the modern vegan convenience foods, things like some sausage rolls, burgers, other processed substitutes, they can be heavily processed.
Right, like vegan junk food.
Exactly. They might be high in salt, sugar, fat, contain additives, making them really no healthier than the non-vegan junk food equivalents. The healthiness really depends on choosing whole foods over the highly processed or pre-packaged stuff. It's about being mindful, just like with any diet.
Okay, this next one causes a lot of concern, especially for families thinking about this lifestyle. Vegan diets are not for children or pregnant individuals. Is it safe for these, more vulnerable groups?
The reality is that well-planned vegan diets can absolutely be adequate for children of all ages, promoting normal infant growth. Leading health organizations, like the American Dietetic Association, they affirm this.
Okay.
The NHS here in the UK also states that varied and balanced vegan diets can provide enough nutrients for both mother and baby during pregnancy.
Yeah.
Although they do advise, paying particular attention to iron and B12, which we just covered.
Makes sense.
There was a University College London study that showed, interestingly, while vegan children on average had lower bad cholesterol, they were on average a bit shorter and had slightly lower bone density and also a higher rate of B12 deficiency. This really just underscores how important careful planning is. That doesn't mean it's impossible or inherently unsafe. Planning is key.
Planning seems to be the recurring theme here. Now, what about the historical concerns around soy, particularly for female vegans? There used to be a lot of talk about hormones, sometimes even linking it to breast cancer risk. Where did that come from?
Right, the soy thing.
Hmm.
Well, those concerns about soy isoflavones or phytoestrogens, they largely came from rodent studies. Animals were given extremely high, kind of unnatural doses in those studies.
Oh, okay.
But the current consensus, according to major health bodies like the American Cancer Society, is that soy foods are actually safe and healthy for humans. And they might even be protective against breast cancer.
Protective. Wow.
Yeah. Any hormonal impacts in humans aren't fully understood, but are generally seen as positive or neutral. Soy might even help reduce things like hot flashes and osteoporosis risk during menopause. The deeper insight really is that animal studies don't always translate directly to human physiology.
That's really important to remember. Okay, let's challenge another common belief, one that meat eaters love to bring up. You can't build muscle as a vegan. Like, meat is essential for strength. What's the truth?
Oh, that's absolutely false. It's a common misconception, but it's thoroughly disproven by, well, living examples. So many plant-based and vegan athletes are performing at elite levels, building incredible muscle.
Right, you see them all the time now.
Exactly. And while protein intake definitely needs some thought, most people in the West, whether they're vegan or not, actually exceed their protein requirements anyway. The key thing is that plant-based foods contain all the essential amino acids. You just need to ensure you get a good mix. Combining different sources throughout the day, like, peanut butter on bread or hummus with pitta, ensures you get that complete protein intake. It's about variety, not just one source.
Makes sense. Moving beyond health, let's tackle some practicalities that often put people off. A common financial hurdle people mention is that eating vegan is expensive. For someone on a budget, is this really a barrier?
Well, this is largely a misunderstanding, or at least it's more nuanced. Naturally, vegan staple foods, things like grains, rice, fresh and dried fruits, seeds, nuts, beans, legumes, these are often cheaper than most animal products. Meat and dairy tend to be the most expensive items in a shopping basket.
That's true, actually.
Now, I'll grant you, some of the vegan substitutes, the cheeses, the meat alternatives, they can be pricey right now. That's often down to lower demand, niche production scales. But if you focus on those whole, unprocessed plant foods, it could be incredibly budget-friendly. And interestingly, recent research by Which showed that supermarkets often charge a premium for the vegan ready-made meals, which doesn't help the perception. And this reveals a crucial systemic insight, too. The perceived cost isn't always just about production. It's heavily influenced by historical agricultural subsidies. These subsidies often skew market prices, making animal products seem artificially cheaper than they might otherwise be.
How much are we talking?
Well, for example, about 90% of the annual profit of livestock farmers in the UK comes from these subsidies, compared to only about 10% for fruit farmers.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference and definitely affects the price tag you see.
Wow, that's a fascinating point about the system itself. So the cost perception isn't just about the food. Then there's the concern that vegan diets aren't filling enough, or that they might make you weak or lead to malnutrition. What about energy levels and feeling satisfied?
Yeah, the reality here is that plant-based foods are often lower in calorie density. That means you might eat a larger volume for fewer calories compared to some animal products.
Okay.
But you can easily feel full and satisfied by simply consuming slightly larger portion sizes or focusing on more protein and fiber-rich vegan foods. And fiber, by the way, is found only in plants. It's great for digestion, helps you feel fuller longer, and benefits blood sugar and cholesterol.
Right, fiber is key.
Absolutely. And well-planned vegan diets are healthy, nutritionally adequate. They don't lead to malnutrition. That's affirmed by major dietetic associations. You're just swapping calorie-dense animal products for equally satisfying nutrient-dense plant options.
Okay, I hear this one a lot from skeptics, often with a bit of a groan. Veganism is boring, or worse, vegans just eat salad. It implies such a limited culinary world. Is that true? Because frankly, that sounds awful.
Oh, come on. That is absolutely a false perception. Seriously. Vegan diets are incredibly diverse. They're made up of this huge range of ingredients: beans, fruits, peas, grains, seeds, nuts, all the plant-based milks, and yes, even vegan junk food exists.
Ah, true.
There are countless interesting recipes out there. And modern artificial flavorings can even mimic animal products, like butter flavor, allowing for really uncompromising tastes. Many vegans actually say they become more creative with cooking because they start exploring new ingredients and techniques they never bothered with before.
That's interesting.
And eating out is easier than ever. There's been a noticeable surge in restaurants offering great vegan options. It's also fascinating when you start looking into non-vegan ingredients and everyday things you wouldn't expect, like some crayons or nail polishes use animal products.
Yeah.
It just highlights how much there is to discover beyond just food.
Crayon ingredients. Wow. Okay. For anyone thinking about switching, the idea that veganism is hard or too restrictive can feel like a huge barrier. How do you address that sort of psychological hurdle?
Look, changing habits for any purpose can be hard initially. That's just true. At first, reading labels on food, cosmetics, maybe asking about clothing fabric, yeah, it might seem a bit daunting.
Definitely.
But those actions gradually just become new habits. You get quicker at it. It empowers you to make fast choices. And the good news is that the options are just continuously increasing. There's a substitution or alternative for almost every animal product available now. It's really less about restriction and more about discovering new, delicious possibilities.
Finding replacements rather than just cutting things out.
Exactly.
Social anxieties are also a big one. The worry that being vegan damages relationships with family, or you can't eat at restaurants, or dining at someone else's home will be impossible. These feel very real to people.
Yeah, the social side can feel daunting, absolutely. It's true that family and friends might not always react positively, maybe because of culture or just misinformation. But that doesn't automatically mean relationships get damaged. Often, establishing healthy, open discussions can really help clear the air.
Communication is key.
Totally. And for dining out, like I said, almost all restaurants have meatless choices now, or you can just call ahead easily. When dining at others' homes, it's also worth remembering the plant-based idea. It means eating less animal products, not always zero in every single social situation, depending on your approach. You can often enjoy what's offered, or maybe give a heads up in advance if you know your host well.
Flexibility helps.
It does. Plus, the increased global availability of vegan foods makes travel much easier than it used to be. And durable vegan foods like nuts and dried fruits are super travel-friendly anyway. It's really about communication and flexibility, not sacrificing your social life.
Okay, and finally, a rather negative stereotype about vegans themselves. The idea that vegans hate all non-vegans, or that they only care about animals and not humans. This can create a really divisive perception.
Right. And vegans are individuals, just like any group. Not everyone shares the same views or communication style. It's just a mistaken generalization. Many vegans actively advocate against things that harm humans too, like hazardous working conditions in slaughterhouses and tanneries. And they campaign against the environmental harms of animal industries, water use, pollution, greenhouse gases, which negatively affect both humans and non-humans.
So it's broader than just animals.
Much broader for many people. While sure, some individuals might express frustration or dislike towards non-vegans, that doesn't represent the whole movement. Most vegans are actually very open to communication to help others understand veganism and the ideas behind anti-speciesism. But yeah, the core focus of veganism is about animals, and ultimately animals are the ones who lose out when veganism is rejected or dismissed. It's really about expanding our circle of compassion.
Expanding compassion, I like that. Let's quickly tackle one more health perception that pops up sometimes. Vegans age badly. Any truth there?
Actually, the reality seems to be quite the opposite. Vegan diets are often associated with longevity. Research suggests they can improve things like insulin resistance and may even enhance one's lifespan. So if you're aiming to age gracefully, a well-planned vegan diet might actually be a step in the right direction, not the wrong one.
Good to know. Now, let's dive into a few more niche misconceptions, starting with a detail many people get wrong. Honey is vegan. Is it?
Simple answer. No, honey is not vegan. It's produced and stored by honeybees for their own consumption. Collecting it is considered exploitative and harmful, regardless of the exact details of how it's done on a particular farm. It's the product of their labor, it's their food source. It wasn't made for us.
Clear enough. Okay, here's the classic counter-argument you often hear when talking animal welfare. Plants have feelings. How do you respond to that?
Well, plants, unlike animals, don't have a central nervous system or a brain. Based on our current scientific understanding, it's really unclear whether they experience feelings in anything like the way animals do. The biological structures just aren't there.
Right, the biology is different. Okay, this next one is tricky for pet owners, especially if they want their whole household to be vegan. Pets can easily be fed vegan food. What's the reality for our furry friends?
This one's, well, it's not straightforward. It's still quite unclear, especially for cats. While dogs are omnivores, and they can potentially adapt to a very carefully planned plant-based diet with veterinary guidance.
Yeah.
Cats are obligate carnivores. That means they absolutely cannot get all the necessary nutrients they need from plants alone. Taurine is a classic example.
No obligate carnivores, right?
Yeah. Research suggests it's not really possible to formulate a complete and safe vegan or vegetarian diet for cats without significant health risks. Major bodies like the British Veterinary Association strongly advise against it.
So probably not for cats.
Probably not. However, it is worth noting that things like lab-grown meat for pet food are starting to gain regulatory permission. That might be a future solution that could align both animal welfare ethics and pet health needs. But we're not quite there yet.
Interesting development. Okay, for those who enjoy a drink, the idea that vegans can't drink beer or wine can be a real downer. Is that true? Can vegans enjoy a pint or a glass of vino?
Good news here. Mostly false. That is a common misunderstanding. While it's true that some beer, cider, and wine are filtered using animal products, things like fish bones, isinglass from fixed swim bladders, egg whites, or gelatin.
Isinglass?
Yeah, weird stuff sometimes. But many vegan alcoholic drinks exist, and they're becoming much, much easier to find. Most spirits, for example, like vodka, gin, whiskey, they are naturally vegan. And there are loads of apps and websites now like Barnivore, where you can easily check if your favorite beer or wine is vegan-friendly. So you can definitely still enjoy a drink.
That's a relief for some, I'm sure. Finally, let's question the sort of automatic green label on everything vegan. Is vegan leather the most sustainable choice, or is that more complicated?
This one is definitely complicated, and it's a great example of how simple labels can sometimes be misleading. While vegan leather often does have a lower carbon footprint than animal leather, and animal leather production has a very high footprint and causes significant water pollution, that's true.
Okay.
The majority of vegan leather currently is still made from plastics. Things like polyurethane, PU, or PVC.
Right, plastic, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these plastics don't biodegrade. They can shed microplastics into the environment throughout their life and when they're disposed of. So while you're avoiding the animal exploitation aspect, you're potentially trading it for a different, significant environmental problem.
Unintended consequences.
Precisely. Now, there are emerging plant-based leathers made from pineapple leaves, pinatex, mango, cactus, corn. These are really promising, but they often lack long-term sustainability data. We don't know their full life cycle impact yet, and they can still be quite expensive and maybe not as durable sometimes.
So it's early days for those.
It is. And the deeper insight here is that sustainability is complex. Sometimes, reusing existing non-vegan materials, think bags made from old fire hoses or recycled pool toys, might actually be a more sustainable approach than manufacturing some new vegan alternatives from virgin plastics. It challenges us to think beyond just new is better and consider the entire life cycle, reuse, and the source materials.
That's a really nuanced take. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've covered a lot of ground today, revealing that veganism is, well, a really multifaceted topic, often misunderstood, but with clear facts and scientific studies supporting many of its claims, while also showing where the complexities lie.
Precisely. And understanding these misconceptions backed by facts and studies is just crucial for making informed decisions, whether that's for your personal health, your environmental impact, or your ethical considerations. It also really highlights that sometimes institutions need to step in and help redesign existing systems. The UN Food Systems Summit in 2021, for instance, is trying to address these broken food systems that often thrive at the cost of animal suffering, human health, and environmental damage. So this isn't just about individual choices, it's also about pushing for systemic shifts.
Right. It's bigger than just one person's plate.
Yeah.
So given how many common beliefs about veganism turn out to be, well, misconceptions, or at least more complicated than they seem, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday assumptions might we all be holding on to that are maybe ripe for their own deep dive? What stands out to you from today's discussion?
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Good Vegan Meal. If you loved what you heard and you're hungry for more, head over to our link tree at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal. There you can grab our free PDF 30 high-protein vegan 5-minute meals packed with quick recipes and full nutritional stats for every meal. Perfect for busy days and plant-powered gains. And if you're ready to take your vegan cooking game to the next level, check out our cookbook's 125-minute vegan meals for kids' lunches, a school lunchbox lifesaver, 185-minute vegan meals, and 7 weeks of high-protein meals with meal planning made simple with grocery lists for each week. Grab your goodies at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal, and we'll see you in the next episode.